WTP Sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this Saturday morning with my man Post Game of the Post Game 86 podcast, ready to talk some Week 18 in the NFL and what are all the storylines that are on the line today for some of these teams to possibly make the playoffs, to win their division. And we also got some players who are playing to try to see if they can gain some extra incentives on their contracts, upwards of $1 million, and some other players who are playing to see if they can get some single season records. Welcome to the show. What's happening with you this morning, my man, post game?
Man, it's a beautiful day, beautiful morning. It's a blessing to be on with you today. Talk these good sports.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here this morning. Those of you who are out there in the chat, if you get a chance, go and check out the video we did yesterday where we reviewed the 2025 season for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. There was some really, really good topics that we discussed about Notre Dame going forward in the future and how they played during the season. If you get a chance, go back and check out that video. Like, subscribe, share it with your family and friends, and ask them would they like and subscribe as well. Let's go ahead and get into what's going to be taking place. Games today on this Saturday between some division rivals playing for a chance to win the division. We got the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The winner wins the division. And of course, they make the playoffs. Both teams are already going to be in the playoffs. What's your thoughts and who wins this game between Carolina and no? They both do not make the playoffs. I'm sorry. The winner
Yes.
wins the division and makes the playoffs. The other one, he gets to go home to the crib and sit on his couch. What's your thoughts on this one?
I if I'm not mistaken, I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but I think Tampa Bay is automatically disqualified
Oh,
because I think Atlanta beating the Rams, I think that eliminated Tampa Bay from contention. So I believe that regardless of the outcome, Carolina is going to win the division. I could be wrong, but I thought that's what I read. But anyway, this is an intriguing game because I think Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10 was the only person on earth that picked Carolina to win this division. And it looks like he's going to be correct. Uh, Bryce Young and Tedero McMillan and Rico Dotto, that offense, they got a roll today. Uh, I think Bryce Young has progressed slightly. I don't think he's where people thought he should be, despite the progression. When it comes to a number one overall pick, you expect Bryce Young to be lighting the league up. I think he has enough weapons with Coker and McMillan and that tight end room to get the job done. So it's going to be interesting to see, but kudos to him because he has his team primed in position to make the NFL playoffs. And who would have thought?
yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I felt like Carolina was going to be the bottom dweller in this division. I actually thought the way that the Atlanta Falcons drafted, they got them some pass rush that they needed. They were decent on the back end. I thought that they were going to be able to win this division, seeing that they were able to beat Tampa Bay twice last year. I knew that Tampa Bay was still going to be a formidable opponent with um, Baker Mayfield at the quarterback because he's a really solid quarterback and he has weapons around him. But they just faltered a little bit when they suffered some injuries and things of that nature. But I'm really shocked at Carolina because Carolina beat those Atlanta Falcons 30-0, and they beat them twice this year.
Yeah,
I really believe that Carolina's going to win this game today, even though it's in Tampa Bay. I just think Tampa Bay right now is spiraling downwards, and I think that the Carolina Panthers have enough to be able to pull out this victory, even though it's in Tampa Bay. I'm going with Carolina to make the playoffs. It'll be a really great comeback story, seeing that they were really good under Cam Newton, and now they're back on the rise with Bryce Young, who had a much better season than he had his first couple of seasons. So kudos to him, even though he's not where we all expected him to be. He's in
yeah,
a better place than what he was last year, that's for sure. Because last year he got benched.
yeah. I would say this too, Rob. I picked Atlanta. You made a good point about the Falcons. I felt like they've been drafting well. It sucks that Michael Penix is out for the season with an injury. But with guys like Drake London, Bijan Robinson, I don't care what nobody says. He's simply the best running back in the NFL now. I thought it was Jonathan Taylor early on. It looked that way, but it's Bijan Robinson. Kyle Pitts having those type of weapons. I thought Atlanta would progress well this season, but again, injuries derailed them. I felt like Tampa Bay had the best team, hands down. But again, injuries derailed them this season. But we'll see what type of game they play today against Carolina, which surprises all the cardiac cats, man. We haven't seen this since Cam Newton.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm interested in seeing how this outcome goes. They play today, I believe, at 4:30, so that will be a must watch for those of us who are NFL fans today. So if you get a chance out there in the chat, check out that game, and then hopefully tomorrow morning when we come on, we can discuss what we saw in that matchup. We also got another game on the slate today between the Seahawks at the 49ers with the division title on the line, number one seed in the AFC on the line in these playoffs. Now, I mistakenly thought the other game was this game, but both of these teams are in the playoffs already. But they're playing to see who can get to win the division and the number one seed in the NFC throughout the playoffs. Of course, not in the Super Bowl because you don't get to play at your home field. How do you see this matchup going? Can the 49ers go ahead and pull out this victory at home?
Oh man, this is a tough one to call for me, Rob, because I feel like San Francisco, that offense is clicking with Brock Purdy being back from injury. George Kittle should play this weekend. You got Christian McCaffrey, who's been able to remain healthy this season. He's balling out of control. They're banged up at the receiver position, but this 49er team, their defense just sucks, man. Like their defense, I think we can put up points. The WTP sports dudes can put up points on this 49ers defense. They're missing some key players from injury as well. But the Seattle Seahawks, excuse me, the Seattle Seahawks, their defense is legit this year. And the problem I would say with Seattle is that you don't know which Sam Darnold you're going to get. Is he going to ball out like he has at moments this season and the prior season, or is he going to turn back into that pumpkin? That's the question. If Sam Darnold is able to play at a solid level with Jackson Smith and Jigba in that running attack, I think they can get the job done. But it's not going to be easy because those 49ers, man, that offense is clicking right now. And Brock Purdy is an underrated quarterback. And if he remains healthy throughout next season, I think the 49ers can get back to the Super Bowl. But unfortunately, I don't think they can this season. I'm going to take the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm just for the sake of the fact that my brother Jeff, my older brother Jeff, is a Seahawks fan. My cousin Chad is a Seahawks fan, and I got a couple of homies who are see. I mean, not. I mean, 49ers fans. I'm sorry, y'all. 49er fans. I'm going to go with the 49ers in this game. They're at home. I'm rooting for them to win this for the sake of my brother, my cousin Chad, and some of my homies who are 49er fans. Hopefully, they can win this game. Do I think that they are the better team? I do not. I think the Seahawks, because the Seahawks got a much better defense than the 49ers, I think the Seahawks can win this game. But I'm going to go with the 49ers to win it. Hopefully, they can use that home field advantage to their advantage. But I'm telling you right now, Jackson Smith and Jigba has over 1,700 yards receiving right now. He also has incentives that he's playing for today where he could possibly get another $1 million if he meets those milestones this season. If I'm Sam Darnold, I'm trying to find Jackson Smith and Jigma as much as possible. That guy is one hell of a wide receiver. I'm going to make sure I get to him as many touches as possible so that he can go ahead and break the bank. So I really do believe Seattle's going to win the game, but I'm going for the 49ers just because my brother Jeff, Chad, and a couple of the homies who like the 49ers. We also tomorrow got a big game with playoff implications, a division title in the AFC North. The Ravens travel to the Steelers for the AFC North division title and a playoff berth. The Steelers lead this series 37-27. Can they make it 38?
Yeah, this right here, Rob, is the game of the week. This is essentially the a playoff game. Uh, I gotta lean towards the Steelers in this one for the simple fact that I know Lamar Jackson is playing, and I know what type of player Lamar Jackson is, but I don't know which Lamar Jackson I'm going to get in this game. He missed the last game, or I think the last couple of games. He's been injured this year. He hasn't looked the same. There's been a lot of talk and chatter amongst the fan base about the coaching staff, about them not meeting expectations this season. I don't know which Lamar Jackson I'm going to get. And Mike Tomlin, despite criticisms of him and his coaching, he's just been steak and potatoes, man. Just consistent. So I think it's ridiculous and nonsense that some people are calling for Mike Tomlin's job. Every single season you hear the media talking about, oh, is Mike Tomlin going to coach here or go to college or coach there? That is nonsense to me. I would love a coach like Mike Tomlin for my franchise because he's just consistent. No, he hasn't won a Super Bowl in a while. He hasn't even won a playoff game in a while, if I'm not mistaken. But he's consistent. They win every single season. And I think they are a piece or two from really being a legitimate Super Bowl contender. So they just got to stay course with Mike Tomlin, man. I think the Steelers will be fine. I don't know how long they'll have Aaron Rodgers, but I'm just not giving up on a coach like that when, you know, it seems like every other franchise is looking for a coach every other year. So I like the Steelers in this game. I think their rushing attack is going to do some damage against Baltimore. And I think Aaron Rodgers will do just enough to keep the Steelers on top and get them in the playoffs.
Yeah, as far as Mike Tomlin goes, I mean, the reality is, yeah, you get rid of him, but there's only a handful of guys out there who you could really replace him with. And those guys aren't planning on leaving the NFL teams that they're coaching right now because their NFL teams are at the top of the NFL right now. You're not going to get them to leave to come to Pittsburgh when they're already winning where they're at. So Mike Tomlin, I believe what he's done for the Steelers over the decade and a half or so, almost 2 decades that he's done it, you can't part ways with him. Now, I think he needs to really look at what he can do at that quarterback position because if they can get them a solid quarterback in the future, they can be right back uh, at the top of the NFL like they were when they had Ben Roethlisberger and won 2 Super Bowls. Um, as far as this game is concerned, I know that the playoffs is on the line for both of these teams, and Lamar Jackson wants to give it a go. Uh, I'm quite sure he probably got a couple of cortisone shots or whatnot for his back or whatever other injuries he's dealing with his hamstring and whatnot. I think they have a better chance in this game with Huntley and myself. I wouldn't roll Lamar Jackson out there, even though Lamar Jackson is a dynamic quarterback. Can he do what he needs to do with the injuries that he has right now to help them win? I know he's going to give it a go, but it's going to have to be a heavy dose of Derrick Henry in this game to try to keep the Steelers on the sideline. So they gotta have some packages there where maybe they go into 12 personnel, maybe even 13 personnel, and try to run it down the Steelers' throats as much as possible in this game. I want the Steelers to win simply because I got a slew of Steeler fan homies that I know would love to see their team in the playoffs and possibly get a chance to break that spell of not having any first round playoff game wins in quite a while. So I'm going with the Steelers in this one. I think old man Aaron Rodgers can find DK Metcalf enough to win this game and pull it out. And I think they run the ball well enough to be able to get this victory, even though I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game. Probably 17-13, 14-10, something like that. But I'm going with the Steelers in this one simply because I love my homies and it's a slew of them, and I don't want to go against them today in this matchup. This time of year, you have a number of players going for or going after player incentives. Can you see owners and coaches and players at odds about the game plan for these incentives? Do you think coaches are saying to these, I mean, player owners are saying to these coaches, listen, I ain't trying to get this dude this $500,000 if he meets this mark. Don't give him enough touches to get there. Do you think coaches are saying, listen, man, we're trying to win this game. This is our best player. We need to get him the touches. Do you think players are going to their offensive coordinator saying, listen, I need to get the rock because I want this money. I got a family to feed. How do you think those conversations go in these organizations when players are coming up last game of the season with a chance to get some player incentives up to $1 million if they meet these goals?
Exactly how you just laid it out. I believe it's a lot of that in the NFL this time of the year. Uh, and I don't understand why these owners and GMs and coaches, intentionally make sure these players don't get that incentive. I think about the time where, and if you can recall, Rob, Antonio Brown had some incentives on the line when he was with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, and they set him, and he just went off, walked off the field, threw off his jersey, helmet, pads, and just left the team. It was all because of the incentives. So I do see scenarios in this case like that. I wouldn't like try to force feed people the ball just to get them incentives, but I wouldn't intentionally bench them or take them out the game plan so they wouldn't hit those incentive goals. Listen, football is a brutal, violent sport. Let these players get their incentives, man. If I'm at any job and I'm able to crush incentive goals, I want the money for meeting those goals and hitting those incentives. It's just as simple as that. Let these players who train hard, put their bodies through all type of crazy workouts and then get on the field and put their bodies through all type of violent hits. Let these guys get their money. So I can see like greed in the NFL, which I don't understand because they got all the money in the world. Let these guys get out there and earn some more money.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%, man. I've always been the kind of person that felt like, listen, I want everybody to get everything that they worked for and they deserved. I'm not going to try to keep anybody from getting what they worked for. Give them what they worked for, man. These players have gone out there and played their heart out, filled those stadiums with fans who come to see them. Now, I agree with you. I'm not trying to force feed anybody to rock, but I'm going to stay within the game plan that we've had all season trying to win games. And if that player is an integral part of what we do, I'm going to make sure that I run the plays that are going to get them their opportunities to help us win games. And if they reach their incentive, kudos to them. It's in their contract for a reason. I mean, you think about Jackson Smith and Jigba and the incentive that he's going for. This guy has 1,700 yards, bro. That's 100 yards a game average. He is balling the hell out. Why wouldn't you want to see that man reach that plateau and get that extra incentive that he has? I think it's a number of receptions that he has to get, a number of yards he has to get, a number of touchdowns he has to get, and he can get upwards of $1 million in incentives based on that. So I want to see that young man get it. I think as owners and as coaches, you should pride yourself on taking care of your athletes who play for you, who sacrifice their well being every day on that football field when they go out there for your organization. Because they bring in money, like you said, into the pockets of those owners and everybody that's a part of the organization because they're the product. The players are definitely the product that's going to bring you the bread. So I would love to see those guys get those incentives. And I think as coaches, you should do everything in your power within your scheme and what you want to do and what you've done all year to make sure that those guys have an opportunity to reach those incentives for sure. Bijan Robinson needs 255 scrimmage yards to break the single season record. If you are if you are the Falcons, are you giving Bijan Robinson all the touches he needs at home against the Saints to reach that single season mark?
The beautiful thing about Bijan Robinson at the running back position is that you don't have to give him 25 touches for him to reach that goal. He could break that record and get those scrimmage yards on 3 or 4 plays. This is a guy who can take it to the house from the 10-yard line if you give him the opportunity. He catch a pass in the flat, catch a swing pass, and he's gone. That's how special Bijan Robinson is. There's only a few players in the NFL like that who only need minimum touches to create massive yardage totals. I think of guys like Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson at the running back position, Christian McCaffrey to an extent. But Bijan Robinson doesn't need a heavy workload and able to uh, get those type of numbers. Like I said, just 4 or 5 touches, he can break a run. He can break a 100-yard run, 50, 75-yard run. and get those totals. I wouldn't, especially with them not making the playoffs this season, I wouldn't give him a crazy workload, which is what they've been doing lately. So they might, but I personally wouldn't give him a crazy workload just to break the record. Now, if he breaks it off fewer touches, then great. He's deserving. Like I said, I believe he's the best running back in the entire NFL, and he's going to be the best for years to come. So I hope the Atlanta Falcons are able to build a winning team around Bijan Robinson because he's just a special talent. So I think he can get the record, especially against a team like New Orleans, who they're familiar with. Probably not the best rushing defense in the NFL. So I think he can get it. I don't know if they're going to try to force it today, but Rob, I would not be surprised if Bijan Robinson broke that record.
Yeah, I think Bijan Robinson is the type of player who, like you said, he doesn't need an extraordinary amount of touches in order to reach those kind of numbers because he can break a long run. He could take a swing pass and take it to the house from 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 yards, like we seen him do against the Rams on that run that he had. I think you stay within your offensive game plan like you've done all year and just play the game that you normally will play. And you know Robinson is already going to get close to 15 to 20 carries in a game. He's going to get at least 7, 8 targets in a game. So within that amount of touches or opportunities, I think he has a really good chance of reaching that 255. I wouldn't go out of my way to game plan to where we're going to keep giving the ball to Bijan Robinson. I don't want to see them do that like you seen the Texas Longhorns do. Ricky Williams back when he was going for that record back when he was in college. I don't want to see that because I don't want to see a defense just go ahead and key on one guy. Go ahead and play what you normally would play offensively. And if he gets it, he gets it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. He's the type of player that, that record will be great to get, but he's probably not even thinking about that record. He's thinking about going out there and playing with his boys that he's playing with on that team for the Atlanta Falcons and just doing it that way. But I would love to see him get it. I'm a huge Bijan Robinson fan, of course, because I'm a huge Texas Longhorns fan. But I would like to see him get it. And I think he has a really good shot at doing that. Do you think that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be able to keep Myles Garrett from getting this one sack that he needs? I think the one sack will tie the record or break the record.
Uh, I Cincinnati doesn't have the greatest offensive line. Hold on, Rob. Cook for a minute.
Yeah, I really do believe that Myles Garrett is going to get that record today, that sack record for the single season. I don't see how the Bengals are going to be able to keep this guy from getting there. In fact, I really can even see a scenario where they allow it to happen too. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I know this is a rivalry game, both two Ohio teams, I think that Myles Garrett is the kind of player that you want to see him get a record like that, especially the way he plays hard. He's playing for an organization that, we know has a really tough time even winning games. So I think that I can see him getting this record today. I think he's going to do everything in his power to get this record. He deserves it. He's been lights out for the Cleveland Browns. He's really been one of their few bright spots. I think him, Denzel Ward at the cornerback position, and of course the running back, the first year rookie running back before he suffered any injuries from out of Ohio State and Ole Miss, Junkins have been the bright spots. Now, of course, Shador Sanders has been the man of the talk a lot about the Cleveland Browns, but I want to see Myles Garrett get this record. I think he deserves it. He's been the best pass rusher in the NFL this past season for sure, probably in most seasons, but he's just on a team where you want to key on him because he's basically all that they have. Where other pass rushers like Hutchinson, like Watt, and some of those other players, Hendrickson, those guys have other players around them as well. Maybe not Hendrickson because Bengals is kind of trash on defense too. But if my man post game is back, I'll let him talk a little bit more about what he think Miles Garrett might be able to do for this record today.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I think Miles Garrett, to cap off, I know it's been disappointing because Cleveland won't be a playoff team. And, Miles Garrett is one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL, in NFL history, man. That dude's an absolute stud at the defensive end position. I would like to see him get the record. I don't think Cincinnati is going to go out of their way like Pittsburgh did to prevent him from getting the sack record. They're not going to let him just tee off on their quarterback. Of course not. But I don't think they're going to go out of their way uh, to keep him from getting the sack record to where it messes up their offensive game plan to where they're not able to successfully put up points in this game, i.e. Pittsburgh. But I think Miles Garrett, Cincinnati doesn't have the greatest offensive line in the NFL. So I think Miles Garrett will be able to get the record when they play the Cincinnati Bengals.
Let me ask you this. I've been thinking about this for a couple of years now, especially once Derrick Henry left the Titans and the workload that he had at the Titans. And just to see some of the times when he gets tackled, how his body crashes into the turf a lot, man, when he carries that football. And he's been playing for over a decade, man, and he's been very, very productive as a running back. Has toted the rock a lot. What do you think his health is going to be like once his playing days are over? Is he going to be damaged like you see a lot of NFL players who have played a long time, who have taken some batterings in this game, man? How do you see his health in the future?
Uh, I'm praying he has relatively good health. Being a football player, we all know how violent the NFL is, and like you said, he's taking some punishment, even though he's a huge guy. And one of the most motivational workout clips that you can see on the internet is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry really invests and puts time into taking care of his body. And he's just been an absolute stud at the running back position. So as his career dwindles down and he's getting ready for retirement, I think he'll be relatively good, with the advancements we've made in medicine and health. You would think he'll be all right. But I mean, regardless of his size and his unique stature, he's only human. He's only flesh and blood. So uh, I hope he'll be fine. And he hasn't had a major, like, severe injury in his career. He's been blessed that way. So I think he'll be okay. I hope that he'll be fine. No head injuries, nothing major, because he has taken a lot of punishment. Rob, he has taken some big hits. He has gave out some big hits. So you can only hope at the running back position that Derrick Henry will be okay once he retires. But he should be fine. I don't see anything, that would lead me to believe that he's going to struggle post career.
Yeah, I'm really excited at the fact that medicine has come a long way. And the reason why I asked that question is because I'm a huge Earl Campbell fan. That's my favorite athlete of all times out of all athletes in any sport. He's my favorite athlete, and to be able to see Earl Campbell do what he did in the NFL, how bruising of a runner he was, the punishment he took, the punishment that he dished out, and to see that he had this battle with the painkillers, and this is common knowledge because it's part of his story. If you ever watched it on whatever documentary device that you might have, but to see him go through the things that he had to go through to now where he needs assistance walking, even though he was on a nice journey to get back to be able to take some steps several years ago. He more or less goes around on a cart and stuff. Of course, he can get up and stand and all those things. I just don't want to see that for Derrick Henry, man, because that really hurt me to see Earl Campbell in that kind of a condition, man. And so I just hope for the best for him, and I hope that he's aware of the wear and tear that he has on his body, and he continues to do the things medically, nutritiously, to keep himself in the best health as possible, man. I really do. Are there any other storylines out there in the NFL that you would like to hit on before we wrap up the show? Anything going on this weekend? Anything you can think about in the playoffs? A dangerous team that might be, if they make the playoffs, they might be a dangerous team to beat. Anything along those lines?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. Being a Colts fan, it's going to be interesting to see what the Ursays, the management, the owners of the team do with management. Our GM has been with the team for quite a few years. Uh, so our GM and Coach Shane Steichen, it's going to be interesting to see what management does with them. Are they going to let those guys go, or are they going to give them another season? Because the problem with the Indianapolis Colts is that they just can't find a franchise quarterback. I mean, think about it, Rob. Think of all the quarterbacks the Colts have had since Andrew Luck, who I think would have had a couple Super Bowls by now, if not at least one, since he retired. Old man Matt Ryan, old man Phillip Rivers, grandpa super old man Phillip Rivers. You know, what's the guy from the Eagles that won the MVP? I can't think of his name, but they go and get these journeyman quarterbacks, and they drafted Anthony Richardson. I think he went fourth or fifth overall in the first round a couple of years ago. You expect him to be the franchise guy. He can't stay healthy. They haven't given him enough to develop. Shane Steichen is supposed to be this quarterback guru and get Anthony Richardson developed and ready to lead the team. It just hasn't happened. I believe, and then they've had so many injuries on defense, it's not even funny. So it's going to be interesting to see what management does with that, or the owners, excuse me. It's going to be interesting to see what ownership does with the general manager, with the head coach, because I believe the Colts are right there. I know a lot of the fan base is going to panic and say, "Oh, we got to fire these guys." I'm not sure if that's the answer. Am I happy with the job they've done thus far? No, but I can see where they're just like one great decision away from being a Super Bowl contender. They just gotta figure out the quarterback position. What are they going to do with Anthony Richardson? He's had some of the most freakish, devastating injuries I've ever seen. When he's healthy and he's able to play, he's productive. Like, you can see the skills, the talent. The athleticism, that young man is a freak of nature. The question is, can he stay healthy? And I think, giving him the year to sit and kind of learn and develop and hopefully get his body right to where he can sustain a long NFL season, that's the key. Because I believe they'll go back to him next season, especially if Daniel Jones isn't able to go. And if he's able to start the season and play well, there's no way they can go back to Daniel Jones. So that's going to be really interesting to see and monitor in the off season what ownership is going to do with the Indianapolis Colts GM and head coach. That's the biggest storyline I have my eyes on.
Yeah. Since you talked about your Indianapolis Colts, I guess I'll talk about my Tennessee Titans and the direction that they possibly need to go because they fired their coach mid-season. And I really hope that they get a offensive-minded coach who has a lot of great, bright ideas. Maybe a guy from the McVay or the Cal Shanahan or a guy from with some NFL coaching experience that might be even at the college level, who's an offensive mind to really help bring Cam Ward along offensively. Of course, whoever they hire, that he needs to get him a really good defensive coordinator. They got right now they're sitting at the number 4 pick in the draft. I think they're in a position to where maybe they could afford to maybe stockpile a couple of picks by maybe trading back a little bit and maybe get a couple of those key guys like we talked about yesterday in I think it's Ruben Baines and or either Leonard Moore, the cornerback. They definitely need cornerback help, man, because they paid all this money to Snead and he's been getting toasted. So definitely they need some defensive help, but they also need to put some weapons around Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is going to be a really good franchise quarterback for us. He's done really, really well with what he has. I think as they improve their offensive line, they probably need to get another guy in that backfield with Pollard to help spell him every now and then, at least a bruiser anyway, and try to get that offense rolling. I think that the Titans will be much better next year if they get the pieces around Cam Ward that they need to do, get around him. They need to go out there because there's going to be plenty of solid receivers out there to put around him in the draft, and there are also going to be some defensive guys they can put on the defensive side of the ball to help the Titans as well. Um, of course, they got Jeffrey Simmons and they got Big Sweat at the defensive tackle positions, but they need to get some pass rush. They got rid of Landry Jones last year. I think not. Is that his name? No, his last name was Landry.
Harold
But
Landry.
anyway, say it again.
Harold Landry.
Yeah, they got rid of him last year, and he was our main pass rusher the year before. So we definitely need to get a guy who can get after the quarterback. We can't afford to let the team sit back there and have a million years to throw the football. That'll help Snead as well because he was getting toasted. But I think
Yeah.
that'll be a good thing for them if they can get the right pieces around Cam Ward and a good offensive mind around him to help him out.
Yeah, I think y'all listen, Cam Ward is that dude. I think he showed I know y'all didn't have the type of season you wanted to see, but I think Cam Ward has showed enough, man. That dude has freakish arm talent. You just gotta surround him with some weapons, some more weapons, and get him an offensive line. Y'all gotta build from the ground up, from inside out, because y'all definitely got y'all franchise quarterback. That dude Cam Ward is special, I believe. So I know y'all gonna have a lot of off-season needs on the defense and the offense. Y'all just got to get the correct coach. We've seen what the right coach in the NFL can do for a franchise.
Yeah, that's for sure. What's your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins if they don't fire their coach and then possibly going with Quinn Ewers into next season? Do you think they do that, or do you think they possibly trying to find a veteran quarterback to let maybe Quinn Ewers spend another year or two learning the game, or do you think they draft a quarterback? What's your thoughts on them Dolphins and what direction they go offensively?
Well, I thought they would fire their coach, but seeing as though they let him stick it out, I don't think they're trying to fire Mike McDaniel because he's such an offensive genius. I mean, we've seen it when he's had his pieces healthy. He didn't draft Tua. That was the former regime that left before he got there. So I think they're going to give him a little grace and let him kind of draft another quarterback, develop them, and see what they can get. People got to remember Tyreek Hill went down early. They struggle with injury. That offense doesn't look the same. I don't think Tua's going to be there next year, even though he has a huge contract. I just don't think you can keep him around. He's just like the weather. He needs to be in a dome if he's going to play football. He just doesn't have the. I don't think he has the type of arm strength that you need in December and January to compete. So, and they're scared that he's going to get injured. So, I think they're going to find them another quarterback. Ewers has looked good. I don't think he's quite ready. I think he's going to sit a little bit longer and maybe he can develop into that NFL quarterback because you've definitely seen some good things from Quinn. But I think they're going to draft a quarterback. They may draft one. They may trade for a veteran, but I don't think they're going to get rid of Mike McDaniels. He's just too good at despite his record, he's just too good of an offensive play caller. That dude on offense is a genius. So if he can get the right pieces, get Tyreek Hill healthy, and we don't even know if he's going to be the same Tyreek Hill. So he's getting up there in age, but he's still the cheetah. So even if he slows down a little bit, he's still fast. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think they're going to get rid of Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see him on the Titans sideline, working with Cam Ward for sure. But I don't think they're going to get rid of him either. I think they're going to give him a little bit more time to try to see if he can get his pieces healthy and get the pieces that he need offensive. Because, like you said, when they're healthy and they got all their pieces, their offense is freaking unbelievable, man, and super scary, super scary.
And you got to remember, they still got one of the better running backs in the league. They
Yeah,
still got Devon Achan, who I told y'all at the beginning of the season I was going to draft in the first round in our fantasy league, and y'all let him fall to me at the end of the first round, and I was able to take him. He's been solid all season.
yeah. I'll do a better job next year when we have our fantasy draft of making sure I know whose names are out there, so that I can do a better job and I don't get all these 50 burgers dropped on my head by these players that I passed up on. Who's your offensive MVP in the NFL this season?
Oh, man, they're going to give it to a quarterback. You got to put up some space age like alien type numbers at the running back or wide receiver or even tight end position for them to not give it to a quarterback. So I think the offensive player of the league is going to be between Drake May and Matthew Stafford, and whoever doesn't win that is going to win MVP.
Yeah, I have the same two names. Stafford last week against Atlanta throwing those three picks, I believe he threw three picks, might have maybe put him behind Drake May a smidget. I guess it might come down to this last game, how these two play, or even if they even play, since maybe their game won't have any playoff implications on where their seeding is at. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I think it's between those two players as well. I just hate to see that the fact that Bijan Robinson has a chance to break the scrimmage, the yardage from scrimmage record, and he not win that thing, man. But we all know that if a quarterback is playing lights out, chances for a running back to win MVP is going to be slim. And so I got those same two guys. What about defensively? Who do you think is the defensive MVP? Is it hands down Miles Garrett?
Hands down, it's not even close. Like Miles Garrett is just having, especially if he's able to get the record. Like he's had just too special of a season for it to not be him. It's Miles Garrett by a mile.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I would go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Now I was just gonna say I would say that if Matthew Stafford struggles in this last game and Bijan Robinson is able to get that record, now we got a discussion because I think that's going to knock Matthew Stafford out of the MVP race. They'll give it to Drake May. And then with those type of numbers with Bijan Robinson, I think you just got to give it to him.
Yeah, I kind of wish his record was probably a little bit better as well. Who do you think going into the playoffs is probably the scariest team in the NFC, and who's the scariest team in the AFC?
I would say the NFC, the Rams, because I know they've been struggling a little bit lately, but here's the thing: if they can get Devontae Adams back healthy, that offense goes to another level, and Stafford plays a lot better. So if you think about that whole NFC West with the Rams, the 49ers, the Seahawks, all those teams in one division are going to be really scary teams to play once it becomes playoff time because they can score. They can put up points against anybody, all those teams. Now the problem is sometimes outside of Seattle, those defense are suspects. But if you can get Devontae Adams healthy to pair him with Puka Nakua and that Russian attack and a veteran savvy quarterback, all time great like Matthew Stafford, then I would have to go with the Rams as the scariest team in the NFC. The AFC, the teams in the AFC, I don't know, man. It's no, it won't be no Cincinnati Bengals. Probably won't be any Lamar Jacksons. Won't be no Pat Mahomes. The AFC is wide open. So I would have to say by default, it probably will be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills as the scariest team. Maybe not the favorite, but the scariest. Because that defense can be gotten Buffalo. Like that defense is suspect. So, but you got Josh Allen, and we know what he can do. He can throw for 4 touchdowns and run for another 4. So scary in the AFC, I would say Buffalo.
Okay, okay, okay. Anything else you want to add about the NFL before we wrap up?
Nah, I don't have much. I mean, like I said, the Pittsburgh Baltimore matchup, that's essentially a playoff game this weekend. The winner of that is going to go to the playoffs. Uh, but wouldn't it be crazy if Lamar Jackson somehow, some way finds a way to get the job done? He gets to the playoffs, he's relatively healthy, and he leads the Ravens to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be poetic justice? I don't think it's going to happen now because I don't think they're going to beat Pittsburgh, but that would be crazy and really special. And then we would have to start talking about Lamar Jackson rightfully so, is an all-time great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen either, but it would be awesome to see. Um, but we'll see. But we'll be back again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and we'll talk a little bit more about just things that are happening in the sports world. So if you get a chance, please tune in, subscribe, hit the like button, hit that bell so you can get notifications anytime we're going to go live. I appreciate you joining me this morning, post game of the Post Game 86 podcast. Enjoy the rest of your day. I might come back later on this afternoon and do a review with my man SEC Sean on his Texas A&M Aggies 2025 football season. So everybody look out for the notification for that as well. All right, bro. Have a good one, man. I appreciate you, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, bro. Enjoy your day, man. And we just might, after y'all do that Texas A&M review, we might have to do an emergency pod based on some portal moves if there's any movement.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, everybody out there in the chat, make sure that you keep that notification bell on because, listen, the portal was popping, and we want to come at any given time when we get some of that good news to bring it to you first. So make sure you got that notification bell on. All right, bro. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be talking to you soon.
All right, Rob. Much love, brother.
All right. Much love, bro. Peace.